tuning in to another episode of A Band of Gamers podcast, episode 190. We're a video game and music podcast with two hobbies in separate segments. From aging gamers who love talking about the latest industry trends, new and retro video games, and discovering new music. You can find show notes, links, and conversation over at abandofgamers.com/190. I'm Joel, your MC, one of your three co-hosts, recording in a suburb of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. That's in the USA. Joining me on this podcast journey from across the globe, first off, in Vancouver, Canada, it's Shane. Hey, Shane.
Hey, yeah. Thanks for joining us.
How you feeling today, buddy?
Doing all right, man. The spring has sprung, I guess, as they said. So finally getting some decent weather. Too bad it wasn't a couple weeks earlier. But we're doing great, man. Doing great.
Awesome. And in Birmingham, England, we've got Carl. Hey, Carl.
Hello.
What's going on?
I was trying to sound as cheaper as possible there. Yeah, I'm doing good. We don't have the spring yet. We had a brief weekend of summer, which lasted 2 days, and it's grey again. Shock.
Yeah, is that it? Is that your summer right there?
Yeah, done.
Joining us this episode, we've got a very special guest, a gentleman I've podcasted with twice in my past, first on 360 Nation, and then later on PS Nation, where he spent close to 10 years, a podcasting legend. It's Josh. Hey, Josh.
That's me. A legendary mess, maybe. I don't know about that. Yeah, how you doing? I'm on the air. This is weird. It's not been that long, but yeah, it's weird. I didn't think I'd be sitting in front of a microphone like this soon.
Oh, we're glad to have you. Thanks for joining us, buddy.
Well, thank you for having me on. This is going to be fun, I'm sure.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It better be, for all the issues we just had in audio. This better be
because I'm here.
No. This better be our best episode ever.
Yeah.
Well, we've got lined up this episode, Side A Video Games. We have news and conversations. The PS4 is about to hit a big milestone. So we'll spend a few minutes talking about what that is, celebrating the PlayStation. We got a perfect special guest there to help us talk some PlayStation. Rocket League has a new field. What we're playing, we've got impressions of the Analogue Mega SG. That's a Genesis clone that I just picked up. And we've got Borderlands Remastered, whatever Josh is playing. We've got our E-Penis segment. That's where we share easy PlayStation Platinum trophies to increase your number.
Ooh.
We've got drinks, we got a little cheers there in the drink section. Then Side B music. Recommended record this episode is for fans of 70s psychedelic instrumental music. It's like evil mariachi music played to a dark James Bond theme song.
Oh, yeah.
Starring
That's
Punch.
a good description.
Well, let's get right into it here in gaming news. PlayStation 4 is about to hit. They're very close. So any month near, probably within the month or the quarter, they're going to hit the 100 million consoles sold landmark spot.
Wow.
Pretty amazing. That's according to their financial report as of 3/31/19. They've sold 96.8 million as of 3/31. Compared to the other PlayStation consoles, PS4 is now third. It just surpassed PS3, but it's still behind the PS1 and the PS2.
I don't think the PS2 record will ever be broken. That's an incredible number.
Probably not.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it. It seems like it's slowing down a bit. Although they dropped the price. With the PS2, the big thing was they wanted to get down to $199, and once they got down to $199, sales rocketed again. And then when they got down to $99, like right at the tail end of its life cycle, the sales shot up again, of course, at $99. But the PS2 also had that it had the advantage of hitting like the Latin American, South American countries later. And that really boosted the life cycle, kept the life cycle going a lot longer when it did eventually hit those other areas. So,
and all those copies of FIFA.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
That's true.
Well, I guess like Josh says there, it depends on how low that price point comes down. We've heard some rumors about the guts of the PS5. Not quite sure how far away it is yet. PS4, maybe a couple of more price drops. There's a lot of houses, I'm sure, that still need one. They could get there.
That price drop's a good idea. I bet you that's in their plans. They're not going to be at E3 this year, but a nice timed announcement, maybe a $50 price drop or something. Push out the PS5 a little bit, which it sounds like it's not coming in 2019.
Yeah, it's at least a year away, minimum.
And the fact that they're talking about the PS5 being PS4 backwards compatible, I think gives a lot of people a good reason to pick one up this late in the life cycle with confidence, knowing that whatever games they buy, they'll be able to play on their PS5.
Yeah, that was critical. And it was kind of expected. And we've been talking about that the past couple of months, or we had been talking about that the past. Yeah. Back on that other. That simply because of VR. I mean, they're pushing VR, and Sony is all in behind VR, and they've said this. Now, they've asked people to buy that extra unit and to buy games for it, and the idea that they would jump into PS5 and say, "Oh, sorry, that's out the window. Buy a whole new VR set and all new games on top of that," it would destroy the market. They'd never be able to pull that off. So it seemed obvious that there would be PS4 backward compatibility. I want to see the surprise announcement of PS3 2-in-1 backward compatibility with it too. That would be just massive if suddenly you can play the entire PlayStation library on this one new system. But who knows if they'll do that.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that in the last episode that we had. That'd be my dream to have them do that. I don't know if there's any incentive for them to do that necessarily. I don't know how much money it would cost them to make PS3 compatible with that device, I guess.
That's the harder part. But really, I think the incentive is looking at the traction Microsoft is gaining with their backward compatibility program. And backward compatibility has always been that thing where, it's that box point that everybody loves, but the numbers, according to PlayStation, according to Sony, they just don't back up the financial burden that it entails. But Microsoft seems to say otherwise. They seem to be getting a lot of people and a lot of traction with backward compatibility right to the original Xbox.
Yeah, it's worked like a charm, hasn't it? There's a lot of talk about the lack of exclusives and the lack of games that they had coming out, and all that seems to have died away with the backwards compatibility, and then Game Pass kind of combining some of that stuff. Games of Gold giving away like a free 360 game. It certainly helped Microsoft stabilize, and now they look like they're giving the better bang for the buck. Like when if you're going to go and buy a new console, it seems that Microsoft, you get this X, Y, and Z, you can play all these older games. People don't really, if the game's good enough, the retro craze kind of supports that. People will go and play these older games as long as they can play them in a handy way. If Sony can make any kind of push on that backwards compatible stuff, then that would really help. I did wonder when Microsoft announced that discless Xbox, whether that might be the trigger point for Sony to maybe push that price drop out. When the Xbox One comes out with without the disc, it's like, oh yeah, you can pick this up for $200 or whatever, and then Sony go out and say, well, actually, yeah, you can get the base PS4 for $200 and it's got a Blu-ray drive.
That'd be good counter marketing.
Yeah, that Xbox, the price point for that new Xbox discless doesn't seem to make any sense. It's like the same price right now as the other one, if you catch the other one on sale. Otherwise, it's $50 less. They needed that to be like $100 less. It's perfect time for Sony to swing in with a price drop. And what has Sony done right? I mean, why is the PS4 selling so well this generation? Is it just the momentum they've had as they've sold the PS2 like crazy, PS3, now PS4? Or is it that first-party offerings? I tend to think it's their first-party games that really kind of put them up on top currently.
I think it's a little bit of both, actually. What helped immensely was Microsoft's missteps at the beginning of the generation and their muddled message and just the utter mess they were making of their launch. And a lot of people, and Sony, their research had backed this up, that a lot of people who had skipped the PS3, who just had a Wii or maybe even a Wii U, were now coming to the PlayStation 4. And even people who had the Xbox 360 were moving over to the PlayStation 4, partly on that messed up marketing plan that Microsoft had early on. So that helped it right out of the gate with the momentum. And then all the games, all those first party games, Sony has always dominated on those first party games. It's insane this generation, what's come out. It's really remarkable to see. Don't think they're ever going to hit the PS2 levels. I'd be shocked if they did. I mean, early on, it looked like they were going to get there. They were tracking right on the same numbers that the PS2 was, or slightly ahead of the PS2 early on in the generation. But what do you guys think? Where's all this coming from? The sales wise, you know?
I think definitely that initial press conference when they basically came out and didn't do what Xbox said they were going to do, and they hit the ground running. I mean, the pre-orders, the price point, everything. It was so easy. There were so many units. The failure rate on the consoles, I mean, was like next to none. Don't know anybody who's ever had an issue with a PS4 outside of, maybe, the disk drive just not spitting a game out, which there's workarounds, and that's that's really about it. But they hit the ground running, made an incredible console, and never look back, really.
To be fair, I did have a problem with my launch PS4.
Whoa!
It was the HDMI port. There was something bent in the HDMI port, and I could not get a solid connection at all. They replaced it immediately, and it was all good. So, and I'd forgotten about that entirely until you brought that up. I was like, wait, what was that? Oh shit, that was my PS4.
Well, there we go. Yeah. Now we know one person who had
yes.
a minor issue.
Just one. I think in some ways it was as much Microsoft's failings as Sony's push. It just seemed, like Shane said, Microsoft kind of went first, and they messed up the whole announcement around, it'd always been on, always been connected to the internet, and Sony kind of just came in and went, yeah, we're not doing that. It kind of gave them the momentum, and they backed that up with a ton of quality first-party titles. You can't compare the exclusive titles on the PlayStation to the Xbox because they're night and day. And having Microsoft be that weak, I think, in that regard, just helped make people make that decision and go, do you know what? It's better on PlayStation because I can pick up and play those exclusives. So they almost benefited from them.
I think their network infrastructure this time around too helped them a lot. They didn't do anything extraordinary there, but they didn't do anything poorly. In the PS3 days, they added trophies, right? That wasn't there at first. They had you were able to connect to friends more easily. They started to match point by point everything Xbox Live was doing and provided a dependable network. I think that helped a lot too, because it didn't scare anybody away. You could do the same things on the PlayStation that you could do on the Xbox this generation.
Yeah.
And it's an incredible recovery after the great hack of 2012, 2011, for them to bounce back like they have, and just grab this generation by the peripheral balls and just run with it. It's pretty crazy. Like, companies don't rebound like that.
What do they got to do with PS5 to keep this momentum and sell as many consoles? Same strategy, something different?
Price point is going to be critical. And it was in the last generation. They got lucky, knowing that Microsoft was going first at that E3. And we had talked to, I think we mentioned this on the other podcast when it happened, but we talked to some of the people, and they were all in a room watching the Microsoft press conference. And when Microsoft announced the price, they all jumped up in the air and were high-fiving each other and screaming and yelling because they knew they were $100 cheaper, and they knew that it was going to be huge when they announced it. They were so excited about it. So price is going to be, it's going to be an interesting thing because we've heard those, Mark Cerny came out and he talked briefly about, just an overview of some of the architecture. And he mentioned this solid state hard drive that's going to be in there and that it's going to be ridiculously fast, no loading times on games anymore. We're used to loading screens and the huge intros to games where stuff is loading in the background, hidden away, just instant on and playing. I can't imagine what the price is going to be. Solid state drives, a 2 terabyte solid state drive is not cheap. And that's just the drive. So, plus, I mean, I don't know about you guys. I mean, I'm in kind of a unique situation because of what I did for the past 9 years, but I have an 8 terabyte drive that's almost full for the PS4. So, what good's a 2 terabyte internal drive going to do me when I want more games than are going to fit on that,
Yeah, absolutely. And then obviously as the technology gets better and better, and it's more graphic intensive, you've seen with 4K gaming, the size of some of these files, if you're downloading games, they're huge, and those texture packs, the graphics are going to account for a lot of that. And I think they were saying that the PlayStation 5 is looking at potentially not being 8K, and doing ray tracing, and some really complicated stuff in terms of graphic capability. So that's going to then mean you're going to need the bigger storage, and it's also going to bump the price up. If you've got a kicker of a GPU in there, then like you're saying, Josh, the price point is going to be very, very important. These consoles are still fairly expensive now, and they're going to be competing with, perhaps, if the streaming thing from Google works out, people are looking at the alternative of going, well, actually, that's going to cost me next to nothing.
Did any of you try that? Did any of you get in and get to actually try the Assassin's Creed thing they had running on there?
On the Google thing? No.
Yeah, I did. And I have like almost a 10-year-old computer here. It's just so slow. It's ridiculous. I can't really play any games on it, but that looked and played beautifully. And I was really impressed by the whole thing. But I don't see how they monetize that. I don't get where they're talking about, ease of use. You're watching a video and you just click right in and start playing the game. Well, you got to pay for that at some point, don't you? And where and how is that going to happen? Which is something they haven't talked about, but that's a whole other issue.
Yeah, curious. And then PlayStation's going to have the same opportunity they had this current generation, where Xbox presumably is going to make all the announcements this E3. Maybe not on price, but they're going to roll out the new consoles. If they announce the price, then PlayStation's got all the time in the world to undercut them, even no matter where they're planning. Mark Cerny was quoted in that Wired interview as saying it's going to be competitive and surprisingly competitive, but who knows what that means. And could if the PlayStation 5, well, it's going to be backwards compatible with the 4, and the 4 comes down to $199, maybe it's viewed like a premium PlayStation at that point. In other words, people that haven't yet bought a 4 look at that 2 years from now, even though it's out. Yeah, it's more expensive, but I don't need that right now. I'll get that later, and it'll play all these same games that I'm going to invest in right now. So I think a higher price point combined with a $199 PS4 might still keep them with this momentum.
Yeah.
Any other predictions for PS5?
Clearly, they're going to announce a VR2 at some point. But I think they're going to wait until probably a year or two, at least 2 years into the life cycle. They don't want to hit everybody over the head with, okay, you just bought that console. Now here, buy this brand new VR unit with it too. Mark Cerny already said the old one will work, right out of the gate. So I believe he said that.
He did.
Yeah. Okay. I thought, did I imagine that? Yeah. And that was critical. That was one of the things I was saying earlier, that's absolutely critical, that you have to respect the user base that bought into that and not tell them, thanks for the money. Now give us more.
Right. Same controllers. That'd be kind of nice, right? If those same controllers worked from the 4 to the 5, well, everybody that's got their different colors and a 2 and a 3, be able to use those on the 5. What more does it need? A controller.
I thought I heard, maybe, I don't know where I heard it, but I thought I heard about a slight redesign to the controller in some way. And I don't remember exactly what or where. And the touch bar hasn't worked out the way they expected, but a lot of developers are using it in really clever ways that Sony hadn't even imagined. And it's actually being used a little bit more by developers in more recent games effectively. But yeah, I don't know. I know what it was. There were always those rumors about a controller with a screen on it.
Like a Switch?
That's what I'm thinking.
Or a smaller screen like a Dreamcast, VMU.
Dreamcast.
Well, yeah, who knows? as long as the battery doesn't run out every time you turn on the console. Like that damn Dreamcast thing.
Beep.
Or was it? Yeah, the Dreamcast. Oh, such a pain in the ass.
Yep.
Those little watch batteries.
Well, if it's backwards compatible with the 4, which it will be, you need the touchpad, right? You need the light bar. You need all those same functionality.
You would, yeah.
Be a
maybe
nice.
it's the touch screen.
That could be. That's the other thing too with the PS5. Are they going to try and compete? It seems to me like they're going to stay in their own little channel where they are now. I mean, they're dominating. They're the leader. They're dictating, I think, the terms. But we see Google Stadia coming. We see what the Switch is doing, which is great, right? Being able to plug it in, play it on the TV, or the wife wants to watch TV, no problem. Pull it out, get on the couch, keep playing your game. Xbox is going to be doing the streaming thing, where you can play it on your phone or your iPad or whatever. Sony have any interest in any of that? And that would tie into that screen controller potentially.
I would hope so. I mean, I think where PlayStation really needs to make a difference, they need to open up their network a bit more. And they've been historically very hesitant about that. But you can see that Microsoft has already said Xbox Live Anywhere, and they're pushing for that. You know, they're trying to integrate in with the Switch, and you can already do that with Minecraft, which always gives me a little chuckle every time I turn on Minecraft on the Switch, and it's like signing you into your Xbox Live account. And I'm like, look at that. The more Sony delays on this, the more they sit back and ignore what people are really asking for, the more precarious position they put themselves in. Because you will get those people who will look at it and say, well, I can play the next big game with everybody, no matter what console they're on, except for PlayStation. So, maybe I'll go with an Xbox.
Yeah, they got to fix that before the 5. And probably sooner.
Yeah.
They're heading in the right direction, aren't they now?
Starting to. They're opening up.
They seem to be, but they seem to be dragging their feet. There's a couple developers who have said, you ask the people at PlayStation, they say, oh, all they need to do is ask us and we can just turn it on for them. And then you get the interview with the developers who are saying, we've been asking them for 2 years and nobody will do anything for us. And our community is all over us and I don't know what to do at this point. So there's sort of a disconnect there somewhere, and they really need to figure that out and kind of be more proactive about it, I think, moving forward as you get towards that crossover, because Microsoft has been playing catch up with all the services and all the things they've been adding, all the value adds that they've been putting in the Xbox, and they're going to ride that momentum right into the next generation. So
yeah, great point. A good segue too into our next news story. Rocket League, or more specifically Psyonix, the folks behind Rocket League, are about to be acquired by Epic Games. So they're going to become a much bigger powerhouse behind, I guess, the developer. So that right now they've got a 132-person team over at Psyonix. They're saying that, of course, they're spinning this to be a very positive thing for the studio. It's going to help us. We'll have more resources. We're going to expand Rocket League esports. We're going to bring our game to the Epic Store. Not a surprise. And some people are saying that, the naysayers, I guess, are saying that there'll be less support potentially in patches in Steam with them becoming Epic-backed. We've been a strong proponent or strong leaders in the Rocket League, I guess. Strong cheerleaders for Rocket League, I should say. So I had to put this in the news story. Shane, Carl, guys, Josh, anybody? Sorry.
I don't think I suppose it all depends on how they support it, and if it really makes a difference for them going forward. They are a small studio, and I don't think even they could have appreciated how massive this game has become and how much longevity it's got. You know, it's one of the most popular esports. It's got a huge player base, and now that it's cross server with everybody, everyone can play with everyone. It's even better. And despite the fact that my son is now better than me at this game, I am still trying to play and still enjoying it. And it's lovely for me because me and the boy, we used to play Supersonic Acrobatic Rocket Battle Cars on the PlayStation 3. There's a mouthful. And we loved the game, like, and I remember messaging Psyonix and be like, oh my God, you got a new game coming out, Rocket League. It's going to be, the sequel. And yeah, it just through the roof. And I guess it's disappointing that people are review bombing it on Steam since this announcement. People are so sucked into an infrastructure that they're like, if just because they're not going to sell it on Steam doesn't mean that they won't support it. It just perhaps means that the focus is going to shift onto the Epic Store. But I don't think it's a massive problem. It certainly, the game isn't going anywhere. It can only benefit it, and people probably need to just chill out a bit.
And it's not like Epic's going to turn into EA and all of a sudden,
yeah,
right.
Fortnite skins in Rocket League skins in Fortnite would be fine.
They got a lot
They're
of
not pulling it from Steam, though, are they? It's still going to be sold on Steam, right?
For now, I would imagine that at some point it will solely be able to be purchased on their own store. It would make sense, especially as you can play it wherever with anybody, no matter where you bought it. So I would say for now they will carry on selling it on there, but at some point it wouldn't surprise me.
That would actually kind of surprise me, though. I mean, I see the Epic thing as now they've got deeper pockets, and like you said, this took off and it's become huge and supporting all that. Now they've got money backing them, so it would be a huge help just for the studio there. I think Epic were to dictate that, say, all right, now we're going to pull it from Steam, that would just be a bad idea for the long-term health of the game.
Epic does have deep pockets. They're becoming, Shane joked about them becoming like EA, but they might. They're becoming that big with Fortnite, now with Rocket League and their own storefront. They're becoming a giant powerhouse in the industry right now, and getting Rocket League's only going to help that. And the whole conversation falls to a dead stop. All right.
I feel like I've been talking too much. I'm waiting for somebody else to go.
I've been polite.
Yeah, well, you're the guest, man. Speak up. I'm glad you're talking. Let's get into what we've been playing. And Josh, special guest, why don't you start us off?
Now you see, I have to keep track of any of this stuff. Now I have to figure out what I played.
Well, it's just off the top of your head. Been playing with the kids more, right? Got more family time lately. That's kind of nice.
Yeah, it's actually been really nice. From what I can remember, the kids have got me playing Counter Spy like crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I forget how we got into it. They, as I'm skimming through games and looking at stuff, they see the tiles that look really interesting, and my daughter's always like, "What's that one, Daddy?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's this." And when I saw Counter Spy and one of them pointed it out, I said, "You know what?" Because they love The Incredibles. And my daughter especially loves The Incredibles. So I told her one of the art design was all done by one of the guys who worked on The Incredibles. It was a guy from Pixar. So I played the game, and the first time they saw it, like, she didn't like it, but now she absolutely loves it, and she wants me to play it all the time, and she wants me to die in it. She thinks it's hilarious when I die in it. So I've actually been, I played through the whole thing on the regular, I played through the whole thing on the next level up, and then it's unlocking hardcore, and I'm trying to play on that. I'm like, I'm going to die a lot on this, so don't worry about it. So we've been playing a lot of that. I think I was playing Axiom Verge on the Switch.
Nice.
Yeah, which was nice to play. It was actually a lot of fun. And Lumines, of course, on the Switch.
Oh, yeah.
Why wouldn't I? And I pulled out the PSP.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, I've been cleaning up the basement, and this is like because now I got time. But I've had, as I dug through, I was trying to figure out where my PSP was, and I couldn't. That's what started all this, actually. I could not find out where my PSP was, and it was buried at the bottom of a drawer. And I was like, I know I have a couple others because somebody sent me like the 1000 and the 2000 because I sold those at some point. So somebody sent me a 1000 and I think two 2000s because they just had them laying around. They were in a drawer. So I was doing some homebrew stuff on that, just messing around with them, and then they got put away. And I thought, if I could get these things all set up, maybe I could give them to the kids, because I don't care if they drop or break them or anything at this point, but they could just mess around with it. And there's some older, PlayStation games for them to play. But I haven't dug too much into doing that yet. I got buried in the basement in just piles of stuff that I'm trying to sort out now. But I think I was playing something on the PS3, and I was playing actually 2 or 3 things on the PS3, and I can't remember what they were. No idea what they were. But I've been bouncing to all these other consoles and the older consoles because I'm shocked at how much free time I have. I really
is there any
am.
particular? I'm going to say, is there any particular game that you haven't got round to playing that you've put out? Like, I just haven't got the time to sink into it, and now you're looking at it thinking, maybe.
There's a lot of those. there's a lot of those. My PS4, if you look at you go into the end and to your library and you look at the library, it's over 700 things in there, and I haven't played 700 games on the PS4.
God damn.
There's no way. I early on I was buying all kinds of stuff, and then I'd get review copies and I'd be playing those, and I just never got to the other games. So I've got a lot to play. I haven't played Spider-Man.
Oh,
I played it at E3. I wasn't even going to buy it, until next year when it all came down in price and had everything with it and all. But Michael, my old co-host, had a copy of it, had a code for it, and he said, I have a code if you want to buy it from me. And I was like, no, I'll wait. And like a month or two went by, and he's like, look, I'm about to give this code up, but I just thought I'd let you know one more time. I'll give it to you for $20. And I just checked it out. It's like the full thing with the season pass and all. And I was like, all right, I guess I should. So I did it, but I still haven't touched it. There's too many games I have like that I've picked up and just have not touched. The thing is, though, I'm usually playing when the kids are here and they want to see, or they want me to play something specific, like Toe Jam and Earl. We were trying to play through Kingdom Hearts, through the original Kingdom Hearts, but the PS4 version of 1.5, 2.5,
HD, whatever. Yeah.
But we're barely getting anywhere in 1.5. It's just, we'll play for like a half hour and then they want to do something else. So it's going to take forever to get through these things. But all the games I want to play, I want to play whatever it is. It's always like an M-rated game. And I'm like, it might be a bit much for them. It might be a little bit scary, or it might be a little bit too violent, and yeah, so I haven't really dug into a lot of those yet. Haven't had a chance to, but I will.
Spider-Man, so good, man. Gotta push that up the list.
Yeah, well, I played it at E3, and it was cool because that was at the end of that weird press conference thing they had last year, which I don't know how that came across at home from venue to venue.
Yeah.
We started out in the church from Last of Us 2, and then we moved over to this through like a Japanese garden into this other area. And then we walked out the door and it was New York. And that's where like all the Spider-Man stuff was set up and all these other things, but it was over at that point. So I was first one out the door thinking we were going to another theater. I'm running and I get out the door and I'm like, oh, we're done? Oh, Spider-Man. And I jumped on it. So I was the first one on, got to play it for a little bit, and I came off and Ted Price was standing off to the side, just kind of quietly watching everybody. So I went and talked to him for a little bit about, the game and about what it's like seeing everybody get to play it now, and if he's noticing anything that he didn't expect, so that was kind of fun. But since then, that was it. That was the last time I played it. I will get to it at some point though. And I will finish God of War at some point. And that's another one. If I didn't review it, I probably didn't get through it. I probably didn't get anywhere near, or it didn't even touch it yet. So got to get on that, I think.
Well, speaking of PS3, there's a PS4 version of a PS3 game that Carl's been playing.
Yeah. Well, it's fantastic. I was actually just thinking about Kingdom Hearts then, because I didn't put it in the flow because I've talked about it a couple of times already. But when Josh was mentioning about not getting very far, it just reminded me of Kingdom Hearts 3 and playing through each world and it taking me like a day. And yeah, so I finished the Frozen world and I was exhausted with it, so put it away. But Borderlands Remastered, that's pretty much all I want to play. I watched the presentation of Borderlands 3 the other day, and I'm super excited for that game. And yes, all I want to play is Borderlands. And as I've already completed Borderlands 2 multiple times and Borderlands 1, I thought I'd pick the remaster up and give it a good go. And I'm a good few hours in now. It feels just like it did. It doesn't really feel like a remaster. They have tweaked a few bits, but it's not. There's nothing groundbreaking in there. Just makes it feel that little bit more modern, I suppose. But you still get that weird kind of vertical line, and I don't know, it's like a V-Sync thing or something, but almost like an old VHS tape every now and again.
There's some screen tearing in there.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
so and
which there was in the original too, which is kind of funny.
Exactly. It kind of looks worse because like the graphics aren't a ton better, but like they've had a little bit of a lick of paint, but it just makes that a little bit more like kind of uncomfortable. You're running around, you just see this line coming down, you go, that's still there. So a bit off-putting, but as soon as you get into it and you start lighting things on fire and running over skags and stuff, you don't really care. So yeah, I think for 20 quid or whatever it was over here, I think it's definitely worth picking up. There's still a lot of game there. It's still a fantastic experience. If you have never played it before, I'd definitely recommend playing through that and 2 before 3. But definitely play through 2 before 3 comes out because that game is so good.
I've been playing a bit of the Borderlands Remastered as well, and to be honest, struggling a bit getting through it. It's definitely not Borderlands 2, but you can definitely see the potential and what they did with that to create something like Borderlands 2, which arguably one of the greatest games ever made. So 9/8 possibly. But yeah, it's pacing slow. A lot of it's feeling more like a chore than anything, which is more of a testament on how great Borderlands 2 and the dialogue is incredible in that game. So definitely I've been spoiled by playing a lot of Borderlands 2 lately. But yeah, I picked it up, playing the remaster, and yeah, gonna keep going with it. Gonna keep going. Gotta keep pushing. Rise and grind. Hopefully get through this. And then by that time, maybe Borderlands 3 will be out. So
yeah.
You're going to have to play through Tales from the Borderlands too.
Oh yeah, I haven't done that
that's
either.
Good.
Because there's a connection from that to Borderlands 3 as well.
Yeah.
So
It's also a really good Telltale game, to be fair. It's probably my favourite.
Yeah, it is good.
That is superb. Shane, did you find that going back to Borderlands after Borderlands 2, did you find it feels a bit more difficult than you remember it as well? Because to me...
I'd never played it before. I never
really?
played the original Borderlands. This is my inaugural impressions and whatnot of it. Yes.
Because I can't remember from the first time, but I think the golden keys were something that were brought in for Borderlands 2. And then when I've gone back to the first Borderlands and they've got the golden key chest and stuff in there, which I don't remember from the first game. It might have been in it, but I don't remember it being in it. And so you're getting help. You can unlock all these weapons to help you get through. But I'm still finding it quite difficult. You know, there's kind of little kind of points between quests and between levels where you're not quite powerful enough to get onto the next thing in the itinerary. And you know, you're kind of too weak to be grinding off lower level enemies. So there's a bit of balancing, I think, that kind of jumps out of you. And even those golden key weapons don't really help. It seems a little bit unbalanced now. But purely because Borderlands 2 is so well done, I think you do realise how well and you know they moved on with the Borderlands 2.
Yeah, definitely. I've noticed that as well. And it kind of actually turned me off of playing Borderlands back when it came out on the PS3 was just the amount of ammunition it would take to take down some of these, you know, skags and dogs and whatnot. And it kind of turned me off. Like, they shouldn't be going through 2 clips to, you know, hindsight now. I mean, I completely understand Borderlands a lot better than I did then. But yeah, there's been when I opened up that new area and I had to take down some baddies, and it was tough because they were like, I think one of them was like 2 levels above me, and it just wasn't happening. Just ended up running. Just spent a lot of time running in this game.
Oh yeah, to the point where the enemy's like 2 levels higher than you, and you hit him with the car, thinking, "I'll run him over, it'll be fine." The car blows up, and like you've got 1 sliver of health left.
Right.
Well, I've been playing a lot of Genesis games because I pre-ordered from Analogue's website, Mega SG it's called.
Yes.
And it's this $189 console. It's a little pricier, but it's got the HDMI connection on it, and it looks fantastic on modern televisions. I don't have a tube TV laying around anymore. All my classic consoles are boxed up, so it's desirable to get a modern version of a classic console with the HDMI connection, and it plays all the games perfectly. There's a ton of options in it, more options than I would ever need. I didn't realize that there was different sound chips from the different versions of the Genesis, and if you want to get into all that minutia, you can. But for me, I just leave it on the default settings and start putting in the cartridges and going, and it's great. It's very well built. It's a nice heavy metal console. You can feel the durability and the quality in the build. It looks sort of like, I got the one there's different colors you can choose from. I got the classic looking Genesis one, or American Genesis. It doesn't have a slider for the volume, but it does have a little like headphone jack in the front, just like I remembered. So I've been on a kick going out and buying all these old Genesis games. And good news, if you find them, they're pretty cheap. They're not overpriced. It's not like some of your Mario and Zelda games where you pay like super premium prices for them. They don't have a lot of that with the Genesis. I don't have all the old carts like I used to. Josh probably still has his laying around. I didn't keep mine.
Yeah, I do. Well, I had to rebuy a lot of them because that was, and I've spoken about this. The Genesis, Sega CD, 32X. I was all in on all of it. And not too long after the 32X, Sega basically said, okay, we're ceasing all production of everything Genesis related, and we're going for Saturn. And I went, what? I just spent all that money on the 32X and the games and all this stuff and nothing now? I was so pissed off. I ended up going PlayStation. And I sold everything to GameStop or EB Games. Yeah, I said to EB Games, here's everything. What can I get? And they said, you can get a Saturn or you can get a PlayStation with 2 games. And I was like, well, I'm getting a PlayStation.
Yeah.
And that was that. But then I spent years after that repurchasing everything that I could remember anyway. I have a bunch of more games than I had before. Probably don't have all the ones I originally had, but it's a pretty good cross. It's 97 according to my little database here. So that's just the Genesis games, not the Sega CD or the 32X games that I have. I have a complete 32X collection. What the fuck is wrong with me?
In the box with this thing too is a little like rubber mat that you can use if you want to hook up a Sega CD next to it. So they made it completely compatible. Plus there's a little cartridge adapter for your Master System games.
That's awesome.
As well, which are playable in here. So I've been finding most of these for like $3 to $5 in the case. Not a bad deal.
That's beautiful.
And I have so far, I would get a lot more games if I opted to not have the case, but I'm being kind of OCD and anal about it. I want the case. If I'm going to have the collection on the shelf, right, you need the spine, you need the actual case, unless it's one of those old cardboard boxes that I think EA did for a couple of their games. I picked up Lakers Celtics in the cardboard box, and the box is all beat up. That game hasn't aged well either. Ooh. Talk about screen tearing. Man, that's bad. But that's one of my favorites from back in the 90s.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot of those cardboard boxes. If I remember right, the cardboard boxes came late in the generation because they were trying to save money on, I mean, it's weight basically in shipping. You have a box of, 30 Genesis games in those plastic boxes, or you have a box of 30 Genesis games in those cardboard boxes. There's an appreciable weight difference there that ends up saving them millions of dollars in fuel and shipping costs and everything else. So that's why they ended up going that route with a lot of the games. I love that system so much.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I've been having just a good old time going back and playing those games again, going to the shops, the local shops, and finding them and buying them. I picked up Michael Jackson's Moonwalker the other day.
Yeah.
Shay,
Sweet.
big Michael Jackson fan. My wife, not familiar with the game, put the game on, and she's just in, like, you see her whole face just light up like, they're playing Michael Jackson music, and then there's the monkey, and holy crap, he's doing his dance moves. And so I actually paid a lot for that one, but we won't tell her how much I spent on that one. I haven't found it laying around, but I went on Amazon's used shop and paid a premium to get Michael Jackson's Moonwalker with the case and in good condition.
Yeah, that looks like it's in great condition, man. And it's a must have. You got to have Michael Jackson Moonwalker, man.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of my must haves. And I've been actually doing a lot of like listening to podcasts, checking websites and lists of people who like tell you which are the 10 best or 15 best or 25 best Genesis games to pick up. We got Josh on the show. I know he's a big Genesis guy. Help me out, buddy. What's on your list of must-own Genesis games that I got to make sure I get on the shelf?
Yeah, the first ones that I repurchased when I started getting my Genesis stuff back were all the Strike games from EA, the Desert Strike, Jungle Strike, Urban Strike. I love those so much.
So good.
I did get Urban Strike. That's on the shelf.
Yeah, that one actually felt weird that compared to the other two. There was, and I haven't played it in a while, but there was something different about that one. But those Flashback, The Quest for Identity, which was remade on the PS3, I believe. Yeah, on the PS3. That used rotoscoping for the animations, and it just looked spectacular for the time. The NHL, of course, 94, 95.
Yay!
Yeah, some of the best ones on there.
Crap, I've got 93. I blew it.
93 is good.
Oh,
They're all,
well.
like, you can't really go wrong with any of the NHL games on there. Just depends on what you like. Like, a lot of people think 94 was the pinnacle, but I loved some of the tweaks they made in 95.
Exactly the same for me. Everybody goes nuts over 94, but personally, I preferred 95.
Yeah. one that I really love, which is kind of an oddball one. I don't know that it ever did that well, but I got it at a Blockbuster at one point, and I played it so much that I was like, I got to buy this thing. It was Star Trek: The Next Generation: Echoes from the Past, and it's a whole adventure game set in Star Trek: The Next Generation. They had the actual actors and everything. They had their likenesses. It was a lot of puzzles, and you're warping from system to system. It was like playing an episode. It was amazing. Toe Jam and Earl, of course. You can't go wrong with Toe Jam and Earl.
Have you played the reboot of that?
Yeah. I reviewed that, and man, and that's one of the ones that my daughter wants me to play constantly. She loves that game. But the mailbox freaks her out. The scary mailbox, she calls it.
Yeah, it's pretty scary.
Yeah, I love the updates that they did to it. All the little tweaks and everything they made were actually really brilliant. It's a great remake. And of course the Sonic games, if you can find which one is it? Is it Sonic and Knuckles? The one with the cartridge that you can pop the other ones in. It is Sonic and Knuckles, right? You get Sonic 1, 2, or 3, and you get Sonic and Knuckles, and then you can pop 1, 2, or 3 into the Sonic and Knuckles cartridge, into the top of it.
Really?
And it changes them. Yeah. It changes the gameplay in them. It's amazing. I mean, the technology at the time was mind-blowing that you could do that. But look into those, like Sonic and Knuckles, and if you have any of the other 3 Sonic games, pop them in and look at how it changes things. It's really cool.
Yeah, I didn't know you could do that. Didn't Knuckles, that's a cardboard one, right? That was one of the later ones.
Yeah, it was.
I picked up 2 and 3 for pretty cheap. I've been looking for Knuckles, haven't seen it yet, but I think I might have to relax my criteria. I was going to check with you guys if this was okay. Can I buy it without the case? Or is that is that bad?
Sure.
You could.
Because it really opens me up.
Find it. When I went into this and I started repurchasing, I specifically wanted, like you, I wanted the cases for everything. And I took my time, and over the course of several years, that's what my whole collection is right now.
Wow.
Yeah, and I haven't gone past that really. I haven't looked at it in a while. But when I was ripping everything out here in the basement, all the little plastic cases, I've like a plastic box, it's 6, I think, 6 or 8 plastic boxes with all of the games in them. And I thought, all right, when I reorganize this, these have to be more accessible because they're not right now. And I need to be able to just get them out and show these to the kids so that they can mess around with them too.
Do you leave the little tops on? The little that hung on the shelf? The little tab with the hole so you could hang it up?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to leave those on, right?
Those have to stay on.
But when I'm buying it, I don't need the tab at the top. Like as long as I have the case, I feel like I'm good.
Yeah.
All right,
as long as you got the case itself. Yeah. You know what else is good? Like you picked up that NBA game. I loved the NBA Live series on there. I was talking about I started playing NBA 2K 18, 19, whichever one, a month or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't like it all that much. The pinnacle of NBA for me was the NBA Live series on the Genesis for some reason. Just, it felt so good, and I had so much fun with it. And that one had like a huge evolution. Like the first one on the Genesis was complete side view. Like you're sitting on the side of the court.
Yep.
And then it went to like the 3/4 perspective, the Zaxxon perspective.
Like diagonal, right? Kind of at an angle.
Yeah. Which you'd think would be hard to get shots off when you're at that weird angle, but it actually worked really well. But I don't remember specifically which one out of those I think was the best. Probably 95 or 96, somewhere in there. But I loved those games. That was some of the best simulation basketball, I think.
I'll have to look for those. System. I also picked up Bulls versus Blazers, which was like the sequel to Celtics Lakers or 2 maybe afterwards. It's got Jordan in it.
Yeah,
but
I'm
I
trying to see
I
if
don't think
have
it's his likeness looks. Well, I guess these 16-bit games, all the likenesses are a little off. But I'm surprised. And Shane, when we were in Vancouver, we played your Super NT, your SNES version of this analog console, and I think the TV what we had at that place was kind of bunk because it really didn't look that good. NBA Jam on my TV with this thing looks way better, but I think I blame the television there. The smears on the screen. It looked really bad.
It was an older, much older TV there than I'm sure you have, and I have at home. I noticed it when hooking it back up. Yeah.
Plus, we had a few beers.
Yeah, that's part of it. I did pick up at Midwest Gaming Classic. I sought out a couple copies of NBA Jam because Tim Kitzrow was there, and that's the guy who does the announcing, like the Boom Shakalaka guy. So I made sure I had him autograph a copy. There was somebody there who had a soundboard from the NBA Jam cabinet, and he walked up, "Will you please autograph this?" Wow. The guy lost it. He's like, "Holy crap, you brought the soundboard?" Gave the guy a hug, "This is amazing."
That's pretty cool.
But NBA Jam, Mortal Kombat with the blood, been playing that the other night with my buddies. That's always a classic. Yep. Never gets old.
Virtual Racing was actually pretty good on that.
I don't remember that one.
They put in another chip, like a separate chip. That cartridge was $100 when it came out.
Oh my goodness. Right. Like Strider price.
Yeah. And the World Series baseball series was actually really good on that. I spent when I was living in South Carolina, I spent an entire summer playing a full 162 game season on that. And I got into the I think that was the one where I missed the playoffs by one game. I was one game back or two games back and missed the playoffs.
Brutal.
And I was furious.
All that time just to miss.
Yeah. And so I immediately went into the next season. I'm like, well, I gotta do it this next season, and I didn't even come close the next season. So
I did pick up a copy of that. And I also got RBI 94, which is when they went kind of more realistic looking graphics for that one. Well,
cool.
If you at home think of anything else, send us an email, feedback@abandonedgamers.com. What Genesis games not mentioned here do we need to have in the collection? As Josh leans back and probably thinks of 5 or 6 more.
Yeah. I'll just say Streets of Rage. You got to throw that in there.
Oh yeah, definitely. Streets of Rage 2.
Yes, 2. And that Turtles game, what was that called? Oh God, the Hyperstone Heist, I think it was called in Europe. I'm not sure what it was called in the States, but it was based on Turtles in Time. But I think Turtles in Time came out on the SNES, and then Hyperstone came out on the Genesis. Might become something a shredder in the States, but that was good.
I picked up Ms. Pac-Man on the Genesis, figuring it would be decent. What a pile of crap!
Yeah,
that is. It's a Tengen game. Man, it's awful. When you go to, it's not my controller because I picked up those little 8-bit Do, however you pronounce it, controllers. Nice wireless 2.4 hertz wireless. They're fantastic controllers. I know it's not the controller, but it's you have to push down or up or left or right well in advance of your move for it to actually properly switch lanes. Totally annoying, and it's a half screen perspective. So rather than giving you the full view like every other Ms. Pac-Man I've ever played, including the arcade, you see the bottom half, and then if you go up, it scrolls up. I don't have the case for that one either. That one might go in the garbage. I can't even keep that one on the shelf. It's awful.
You save that for Secret Santa, mate.
Yeah. I do have that as well, but I had to because I'm a Pac-Man whore. I have to have everything Pac-Man.
Yeah, that'd be the only reason to have that game. It's pretty awful.
Yeah,
luckily, they've got the PS4's got these collection of those games like Galaga and Ms. Pac-Man and Dig Dug, and those all play fantastic.
Yeah,
no reason to pull out this crappy Tengen Genesis cartridge. Shane, I know you had a game on your list. I'm anxious to hear about it, but you're saving it for next time, right?
Yeah, I need a little bit more time with it. It came out a few weeks ago, and played it a bunch the first week, and then I kind of went back to continue playing it this past week, and just had the evenings all booked up, so I didn't get to. I want to give it some proper time, man. I want to do it right, man. I was, super stoked for it, so you have to wait till the next show to hear about it.
There you go.
But I'm not going to be here.
Oh, crap.
You can always listen.
I'll fax it to you.
Okay.
Thanks.
While Carl's adjusting the tracking on his Borderlands game.
Just send it to my BlackBerry.
There you go.
It's in the basement.
So next up, we've got our e-penis segment. That's easy PlayStation Platinum trophies to increase that number. Shane and Carl are big into this. They've got high numbers. Shane, you want to get us started? What's first on your list here? And I don't know if this qualifies as easy.
No, the first one definitely wasn't easy. It's taken me 4 years. I got started it in 2015. Mind you, I took a big break because we were playing through. This game probably, I don't know, 10 times or whatever. But when I was playing it, I was always joining other people's games. So my own progress in the game, what wasn't quite there. I was still early on in the game, but I finally was able to push through. I had some great help from great friends, but I finally platinumed Borderlands 2.
Nice.
Congrats.
Great platinum. That is a great platinum trophy. Probably most proud of that one, because not only is the game great, like we've already mentioned, but the fact of playing it with friends and always having friends in there to help out. Carl, yourself, Brian, who really pushed me at the end there to get all those challenges and finally wrap the game up and whatnot. But yeah, it's a great game, and it's so much better with friends. So good with friends. Yeah, so it's definitely I think that and Burnout Paradise are probably my two favorite platinums I've done. But yeah.
I already have these platinumed on PlayStation 3 and 4, but if I could platinum a game again, in addition to maybe Persona 5, which hopefully I'll get my chance this year or next year, Borderlands 2 would be the one. So
you're a monster.
I'll get it. I love that game. It's so much fun. And like you say, mate, I still think back of us taking down, what was it, Cormorax or whatever it's called.
Terra Morpheus.
And Terra Morpheus. And yeah, crazy. Just like, please don't die. Please don't die. But hopefully, the others come back in time and res me and stuff. It's, a lot of fun. A lot of fun in that game. And it's just such a laugh, really. Is. I hope Borderlands 3 is half as good.
That was an all-nighter for you, Carl, too. So I remember it was like Friday night. I got home from work and it's already 2 a.m. for Carl, and just stayed up. I remember mentioning the sun was coming up and everything, grabbing cups of coffee and yeah, just an old school type of fun, like when you're kids and sleepovers and you stay up all night playing, a game that you rented from the video shop or whatnot. It just totally had those vibes back then. So.
Yeah, you only have to mention Borderlands and I'm awake. I'm like, okay, let's do it. Phoning sick, it's fine.
Great.
I think I've seen you on Twitter, Carl. You type Borderlands into the search bar and then just reply to people like, "Hey, I'll help.
Yeah,
I'll play."
Pretty much. Damn, rumbled.
What else you guys got in your easy PlayStation trophies?
There's a game called Metagal, which is like a kind of somewhat cheap Mega Man knockoff clone type-ish game. And I'm not very good at Mega Man games. So this game was a little bit hard for me, but yeah, it's about half hour, 20 minutes. You can get a quick, and it's a plat too. So you get on the Vita as well. And then Super Weekend mode. Don't know how to describe the game, but it's like 5-minute platinum. And I like those platinums. $2.99, and they take about 5 minutes. I'm all over them, man. All over them. Love this game. And it's a plat as well, so you get a PS4 and the Vita.
It took me a few more minutes than 5 minutes. I think I was up to
really?
Yeah, that level 3. And it's kind of like almost like a shmup, isn't it? Half shmup, half puzzle / rhythm / response game, and you've got two little paddles at the bottom of the screen, and all you use is your L trigger and your R trigger to move them a space to the right or a space to the left. So having a bit of rhythm helps, because you need to kind of watch two bits of the screen all at the same time as they're coming down. And you basically only have to clear 3 levels to get the platinum. It should take you 5 minutes, but yeah, clearing that level 3 was a little bit more tricksy than I had hoped. So it took me a few more minutes, but I've got the plat, but not the plat. I've still got to do that on the Vita.
Nice. I think that's it. Because other than that, it's just a lot of Borderlands. So,
where's your number? How big's your e-penis?
I think I'm at 53 now.
Damn.
I think I'm at 101 or 102.
Jeez,
I forget.
You're an animal.
Man.
Yeah. Just compensating all day long.
I don't even know where my number is. It's embarrassingly low compared to that.
I just counted mine since you guys were talking about it. I've got 28.
Nice.
It's pretty good.
But most of them are bullshit.
Is there any that you're proud of?
Just Cause 2.
There you go.
Right?
Because I avoided wearing a Packers jersey.
Oh, yeah.
That's what that one was all about. That was my very first one, and Joel challenged me to do it, and I did it.
Wow, that's a flashback. Packers jersey, hey?
Yeah.
I don't recall wearing an Eagles jersey, so I think it was a win-win for me, apparently.
Well, no, I think that was just the bet. I either had to do it or I had to wear the Packers jersey, and that was it.
Very one-sided.
Nothing else in the bet.
By the end of the year or something?
No, at MGC.
Yeah, you had amount of time that you had to platinum it or something. I vaguely remember.
It was just from when he said it. I had to do it before we got to MGC that year, and I think it was just like maybe 2 months or 3 months at the most.
Wow.
I don't think it was terribly long. It says that it took me 1 year and 3 weeks total of playing the game to get the platinum in that.
Wow.
Sounds like there's a return bet coming here then.
Oh, yeah.
Just saying.
I think I created a verb from that one, just called Joshin' it.
Yeah.
Which created on PS Nation, where that was how you describe playing a game for a year and how long?
A year and 3 months, yeah.
Getting and just actually joshing it was more like OCD.
Exploring every
nook and cranny
inch of the landscape. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the collectibles and stuff. Yeah, I remember that.
Back when you probably had more free time.
Yeah. I mean, Until Dawn was my other favorite one. But that one I did on Extra Life. I just, like, a couple hours into Extra Life, I said, you know what? I'm going to play Until Dawn. And then a couple hours into it, I said, you know what? I'm going to platinum Until Dawn. And I ended up playing it the rest of Extra Life. And I stayed up an extra hour just to get that last trophy to hit the platinum.
That's got to be a hard one. I played through it once. Really, really liked the game. But you have to play through it multiple times, right? And you have to save every single... No one can die, right, to get the platinum in that game.
Everyone has to die at one point, and then no one has to die. Or no one can die. You know, there's a couple that are part of the story. They will die no matter what you do. But anybody that you can save, you have to have them all saved by the end, or you have to kill them all off. And the one that threw me, I thought I had every last one of them, and I was at the very end scene, and there were 2 characters left, and I said, "Oh, well, I'm controlling Hayden Panettiere to whatever her name is."
Yeah.
And I said, if I just run now, they'll attack me and we'll all die, and that'll be that. And I made her try to run, and somebody hit something, and the place blew up, and she got out. And I was like, no! I started screaming. Like, I gotta go do it again. But I was able to load in like 3 or 4 chapters before the end and play through to that. And basically I was like, all right, now I know what I have to do to kill her, and I'm going to kill her. And that's how I ended it. But that was a lot of fun because I played it all day on the stream for Extra Life, and I had a bunch of people popping in and out, and there were people with me at the end who had been watching it the whole time, which was fun. So yeah, that was one of my favorites.
I'm anxious for the sequel, not counting the roller coaster one in VR, whatever that's called. I forget.
The what is that?
Then there's a prequel, right? Called
It's a prequel.
Patient.
Yeah. And yeah, my mind is blank right now. But
The
Inpatient.
Madan or something like that.
The Inpatient.
The Impatient.
Oh,
Well, there's a
Yeah.
new one coming. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, the Inpatient in VR is really good. If you played Until Dawn to the end and you know the whole game, the Inpatient is really great because it is a prequel and it's set in one of the major settings of late in the game. And it really gives a lot of backstory to how everything came to be. It's really cool. But now they're doing those sort of episodic things, they're self-contained as far as I know. They're almost like little Twilight Zone episodes that they're doing now with that Madan, whatever that one was called, where you're on a boat in the middle of nowhere and it's a horror game. And then they're doing another one and another one sort of in that same sort of vein, just one-off horror games, small horror games, which will be cool because it's the same writers.
It's my entry point into the conversation when people say, "Have you seen that new Queen movie?" It's like, no, but the guy in there, he was in a great video game long before he was huge from this Queen movie with the new teeth he's got in there,
Yeah.
fake
And before
buck teeth.
Robot, Mr. Robot.
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, all right, let's get over to what we're drinking. Something a little bit different this time. Probably spend less time on what's actually in our pint glasses and do more of a cheers. I wanted to raise my glass to Josh here, legend PlayStation podcaster who just, what's the story here? Parted ways with PS Nation, but he's been there for a long time, and we've all been longtime listeners. So I've podcasted with Josh a few times. And a few, yeah, 100 to 150 episodes probably.
Yeah,
but just wanted to raise my glass to Josh and give him an opportunity here to speak to his fans because he didn't have a chance on PS Nation to say goodbye. Before we do that, though, Shane, Carl, anything to add?
Thanks for doing what you do, Josh. You're great at podcasting. One of the goats, we'll say. Inspired a lot of us, and I think a lot of podcasts that are easily a direct result of what you did. So thank you. Thanks for the laughs. Thanks for the entertainment, and all the best on your next venture.
I'll just add to that and say that I was probably one of those people influenced, and when I first started, PlayStation Nation was the very first podcast I ever listened to. Not just gaming podcast, just the first podcast. And I remember kind of thinking, I didn't know what a podcast was. I didn't really know, I love video games, obviously, but I kind of had that on the background. And, the missus at the time was like, who are these? These guys have got really good voices. And I think someone was talking about Joel, like reading the phone book, and like he had a voice for radio, and then your voice as well, Josh. You were like reminded me of the voice of Kit from Knight Rider, like the car. the music at the time was like, it does sound just like that, and it kind of like the two, your dynamic, the two of you in particular, like really pulled me into that show. And I was a long time listener for quite a long time, and I loved the banter the three of you had. It was good fun, and then obviously as time goes by, I was like, oh, I want to get into video games. Work sucks, man. Work is work, and I want to do something for fun. And then obviously met Joel and become really good friends with him, and to be on a show with you as well is pretty surreal right now, to be fair. So just like Shane says, thank you very much for all you've done. You've really helped to push PlayStation, and you've done a fantastic job on the show. And we hope that there's more to come from you, mate.
I remember when I left PS Nation, it was at a time where I needed to make a life change just because of a health situation. And I can relate to, and not even close to, as much work as Josh has been doing over there with being like editor-in-chief on the website, editing all the reviews. You've been at it for 9 years, Josh. Like all the reviews and stuff you did. I did it for 2 years. And after that, I'm like, okay, I need to do something more chill. This is hard. This is hard work. I mean, it felt like work. It got, for me at least at the time, it was, and because of a health issue, it was a little bit of a drag. You know, I'm like, I need to kind of pull back and just do something a little bit more chill. And that's when I started this podcast and made a rule, like, we're never getting a review copy ever. Like, I don't want any of those. I mean, it was great to get the early code, right? Now it's really cool to have the game ahead of time. But I guess as you're now back with your bindle that you and I carried many years ago when we first joined PS Nation, you got to be enjoying that extra free time, right?
I am. First, thank you both, or all three of you, very, very much. I'm humbled, and it's the same thing like on Twitter. I expected. All right, let me step back here. I'm not going to get into all the reasons. I know there's probably people here waiting to hear that. I'm not going to go into that. I'm trying to be cool about everything. It's, it is what it is. Glenn owns the podcast. He started it. He can make whatever decision he wants. I'm out. That's that.
Yeah.
We have a difference of opinion on a lot of things. I could tell you a story. Glenn could tell you a completely different story. It's, we're never going to come to terms on everything that happened and how it all went down. That being said, I've been blown away just by the outpouring on Twitter, on Facebook, on PlayStation, on Xbox. I even got a message. I was like, "Whoa, wait, wow,
nice."
But it's been humbling, and it's been just amazing. For me, I was blindsided. It came out of nowhere. I really didn't expect it. But the funny thing is, like with Twitter, I honestly expected, all right, I'm off the podcast. There's going to be just a drop in my followers on Twitter, and whatever, I can deal with that. So I looked when it happened. I looked at my Twitter followers and said, all right, that's the number, and let's just see what happens over the next couple of weeks. And it's actually gone up. I was like, well, shit, I should have done this sooner. As if I had a choice. But if I had known, I would have just run out the door. But I don't know if people are there in support. I don't know if people are there waiting for the car crash to see the wreck, just driving by slow and watching or what it is. But I've spent the past week or two just responding to tons of messages on Twitter, and I'm blown away. And I really, really appreciate all of it. It's, I can joke about it, and it's entirely out of my hands, but that's just kind of who I am. I'm chill about pretty much everything. I learned that years ago, that if something's out of your control, what are you going to do? It's just out of your control. Just move on, do your thing. So Amen. I should be crazy about it, but this is life, and I got to move forward, and I'm going to do something. I don't really know what yet. The funny thing is, I wasn't sure if I was going to even say this here, but I think I will. I might as well. Probably about a year before Glenn even left, I had been kicking around. I never told anybody this. I had been kicking around in my head the idea of doing a side thing on my own. And to the point where I had even come up with a name for it. And I was looking, it took me forever to find a name, because every name I came up with was taken, obviously. And I had one. I was like, well, this is probably taken too. I was like, how's that not taken? Wow. Okay. So I grabbed it. And I sat on it for a long time, and I finally said, you know what? I should probably register that domain just in case. I forget when I did that. That wasn't that long ago. That was probably within the past couple months that I registered the domain and all. I'm not even going to say what it is, because it's nowhere near ready to do anything. It's just been sitting there. And the idea that I want to move forward with it and maybe do something with that. Maybe do something with other people, I don't know. That's all up in the air right now. I'm just kind of focusing on free time, which, as you were alluding to, Joel, I had no idea how much free time I would have when I could turn on the PlayStation and it's not like nagging at the back of my mind, oh, I have to play that to review it. Oh, and I have to catch up on that because I have to talk about that on the podcast. And I'm going to review this, and then I have to write those, and then I have to go edit those reviews. And then I have to, I would spend Friday night, Saturday. Well, I'd take the kids and everybody to Brooklyn on Friday. And when I got home, I'd spend the night either editing reviews or playing something that I had to review, and spend all day Saturday doing stuff on the website, whether it was editing reviews or whatever, to the point where I was like, I got to find time to actually play a game. It's just ridiculous. And I did not realize how much it was until it was gone. And that first weekend came up and I woke up and I'm like, wow, what do I do? I got nothing to do. This is awesome. It's amazing. I got all day and I got nothing to do. It just kind of freaked me out. I spent that day on Twitter for the most part. But it's been eye-opening. I'll say that. And it's been really interesting. I can't thank everybody enough. And, Joel, you had reached out to me not too long after it happened and everything, and said that the door was open here if I wanted to come in and just sit in for a show. And my initial thought was, well, I want to thank, everybody who sent me all those messages, but the list kept growing and growing and growing. I don't want to take up 2 hours of your podcast, reading off names here. Everybody who sent me a message, whether it was in support or whether it was a big fuck you, good riddance.
You didn't get any of that.
I don't think I got any of those. Maybe one or two, but I don't think I got any of those. But everybody, seriously, from the bottom of my heart, I can't thank you enough. It's so amazing to see that, because most of the time, we kind of podcast into a void. We get the feedback here and there from, we've been doing Ask PS Nation, and we'd get emails every now and then, things like that, but you don't really know, and then when you get these messages about how people have listened to you for years, or you helped them through when they were in a rough spot, and, things like that, it's really amazing. It's humbling. It's so great to hear, and so uplifting, for where I was when it all went down. And just thank you, everyone. I will be doing something. I haven't decided what. I don't even know if that other thing is going to get off the ground or not, or if that's still going to be a side project along with something else I do. I got time, and I'm still going to be around. I'm still doing stuff. I'm going to try to stream every now and then when I get a chance. I might just record a bunch of stuff for myself and then post it up later. We'll see. But in the meantime, I'm still on Twitter. I'm still on the PlayStation, on the Xbox, on the Switch, on everything. You can reach me a bunch of different ways. My PS Nation email is gone, obviously. But if you want to reach out, just get me on Twitter, or, on the PSN or on Xbox or wherever. And I will respond to you as quickly as I can. And again, thank you, everyone. And I hope you stick around, because, wherever I go next, I think we're going to have fun. Whatever I do, or whatever we do, whoever we ends up being, we're going to enjoy ourselves, because that's what it's all about,
Yeah.
Just having fun.
Amen.
Yep. I think podcasting to me is about the relationships As you just
Yeah.
touched on, Josh, it's the relationships you make with people, the listener, your co-hosts, but it's about relationships. And it's almost like a good perspective to kind of hear from all these people, right? And realize that you've touched so many people and there's all these people out there that listen to you. And when those listeners listen to podcasts, you realize now that they're not listening for the news, the new releases, what you've been playing and reviews. They're listening to you. They like you, they appreciate you. And that's what I mean by relationships. That's what's special about podcasting. And I think sometimes it's easy to lose sight of that. But hopefully for you, like for me and many others out there, sometimes bad things can bring many good things. You just, as long as you're looking for them. And I know you're one of those people, right? That when something bad happens, usually you find good things in the end. And I'm sure that'll be the case here.
Yeah, I don't dwell on the negative. I haven't in a long time. Life is too short. you just gotta move forward and enjoy yourself and be positive, basically. I mean, when you were talking there, all I could think of was when we started and we were on our PS3 cameras talking to each other on the PSN, trying to record it, where we were doing the hunk of cheese thing. And I had that water pistol that was like an Uzi that looks like an actual Uzi. That was the water pistol before they put the orange all over them and changed them. It looks like a friggin' Uzi. It's amazing that anybody was able to sell that thing at any point. But the fun we had with that stuff, that was just, it was good times.
I was making a PlayStation Home theater video. And this is before like streaming, right? So it's like, what do we do with a camera? Nowadays, everybody knows what to do with the camera. I mean, there's 8 bazillion Twitch and YouTube channels, and it's all been done to death. But at the time, there was nothing. It's like, what are we going to do? Hey, let's get a block of cheese and let's get a fake gun and you weren't here with us, so we did this like interaction over the camera, and it was PlayStation 3 cameras because we didn't even have another option at the time.
And that's what it was. It was that point in time where the only option, with me being on the East Coast and you two being in Wisconsin, for us to be on video together, we used the PlayStation, we used those cameras and recorded that because there wasn't any other option really for us at the time that we could use.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy that compared to now, how drastically things have changed so quickly and how much different it is. It was just, we had a lot of fun back then doing all kinds of weird stuff like that.
Yeah, great memories to look back at. I still go on YouTube and look up that video every once in a while. And as awkward as it is to watch now, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Point in time, great memory.
That was fun.
Well, let's do something that we've done on PS Nation a couple times, but not too often. But our conversations would sometimes lead down a music path.
Yeah.
And I really embraced that when we got over here. Let's talk some music.
Yeah. Welcome to Side B, music.
The recommended album this episode is from the Budos Band. That's Budos, if you want to look it up. The Budos Band, it's their album 5, Roman numeral 5, it's a V. They're on the Daptone Records label, just coincidentally one of my current favorite record labels. It's to the point now that if a record comes out on Daptone Records, I'm pretty much there. Got to have it. I trust their curation, and they always have a good analog, like garage, old school kind of sound to the records.
That was me with Sub Pop in the 90s.
Yeah.
Everything that came out on Sub Pop I was buying in the 90s because it was just such a phenomenal label, and the music that was coming out of there was amazing.
It's nice when you find a good label that you trust.
Yeah.
Because you discover so many bands out of that relationship The Budos band is another one. I think I found them separately, but they're everything that comes out on Daptone now. Pretty much, it's like I don't even know what this is, but I'm going to pre-order this and discover something really great when it comes out. This album was released last month in April. It's 10 songs, 33 minutes. Josh, they're the pride of Staten Island.
I wonder if they know Sal and Joe and Murr and Q. Geez, Q. The one guy I actually know from Impractical Jokers. Yeah, that's funny that they're from Staten Island. Like, you guys send me the link and I listened to some of it, and I would not have pegged these guys as Staten Island right off the bat.
Yeah, I didn't know that either until I was preparing the show notes for the episode. I'm like, well, that's ironic. We got Josh on here today, and there's a Staten Island band. Didn't even plan that. It's a 9-piece band. A lot of guys in this band. We've got electric guitar, your typical bass, electric guitar, drums. You've got some percussion, organs, a baritone sax, a trumpet. You hear that baritone in a lot of these tunes. It's all instrumentals for this record and all of their records prior. No vocals. It's part jazz, funk, Afrobeat, soul, and part heavy metal. Lately, and especially in this record 5, hearing more 60s and 70s psych in these recordings. I said at the front, they remind me, and I think we said this when we were together in Vancouver, it's almost like an evil mariachi band playing a James Bond music. It kind of does sound like that. It also reminds me of 70s movie and television soundtracks, like those bumpers you would see before like an afternoon feature, where like the text would scroll into the screen and you hear this like really funky music kind of behind it. Mm-hmm. Kind of has that sound. A little bit of Quentin Tarantino, I think, has picked up on that sound and used it in a lot of his films. I think they would fit in well with what he's doing.
Yeah, that was the first thing I thought when I heard it. I'm sitting here listening. I'm like, I'm in a Tarantino movie. What's going on here?
Kind of has that soul 70s sound to it. It's just, in its core, it's excellent grooves, great jams, and it's not overly progressive. It's not progressive at all, or overly busy. They seem to be more into a good groove and a good melody, and they keep their tunes like in 3 to 4 minutes, a little bit, some a little shorter, some a little longer. But a 9-piece band playing instrumental music, your brain would think like, holy crap, they're gonna go off the deep end like 100 times and just get all notey or take it to all these weird like progressive places. They don't do any of that. It's just about a good groove and a good funk. This album, from start to finish, it's cohesive and it all flows and fits together. Because there's no vocals, I'd be hard pressed to name a song. I know I got them listed here in our show notes, but it flows from beginning to end. It's a quick 33 minutes, and when it starts over, it's you want to keep listening to it. So we do this thing in our Discord server, which you can find at abandonedgamers.com/Discord, where we ask the community to rate the record, leave a few comments. This album had an overall rating of 3.6 out of 5. A couple comments here. Brad, 32. He says, I like the mixing of the jazz, soul, funk elements with traditional rock and roll. I think I need to be in the right mood to listen to it, but overall it's catchy. He gave it a 3.5. Gardening Girl 5 says this album is really solid. The band overall gets 5 beers out of 5, but in comparison to some of their albums, this one gets a solid 4. Mikey, or Master Degong, says, I like this one. He gave it 4. And I always have a hard time saying that.
Right. I do the same thing all the time.
Luckily, I know it's Mikey. And then T. Paulin, he says, good stuff. Gave it 3 beers. So a pretty decent score there in the community. Personally, I'd give it more like a 4, 4.5, but I'm just a huge fan of the band and this kind of music. This is right in my wheelhouse as far as this style of music. But I recommended it. Shane, you want to get us started with what do you think? Would you recommend it? Do you like it? And then we'll go to Carl and Josh.
Yeah, I definitely would recommend it. It's cool. It's when they get into those vibes, they're smart, and this is a testament of how good the band is they know when to quit and when to get into the next groove. They're not going on and dragging it out. They're they find that vibe and they stick with it, and then they know when to stop. I kind of have to agree with Brad a bit on this one. I do have to be in the mood to listen to this. I found myself starting it, getting partway through, and then kind of I'm on to the next type thing. Listen to, whatever is listening to at the time. However, having it on in the background at home, I was actually organizing my Super Nintendo games and PS4 games, and it was very good, and started to appreciate it more. It's something I'm still gonna kick on now and then. I think it has its place, but finding that might be a little tricky for some people. But it is a very good listen. It's a great little record. I'd go 4-1 on it. If it was me, I'd say it's a 4-1. Driving around, you definitely feel like you're in a 70s cop movie or something. Just, you just want to reach out, the driver window and put the cherry on top, fire it up, get a little whoop whoop, and then, that's what I do when I drive. That's what I do, man. I'm playing a role when I drive. I get in the zone. We were driving up to Whistler from Vancouver. I was right in the zone. I don't even think I talked to these guys the whole trip. I was just, I had the blinders on. No, it wasn't like that.
Partially.
Yeah, it actually was fun. But yeah, it is very good. But if you don't always have that, in the mood for it, throw it on in the background. Throw it on the background while you're doing something. You got some people over. Yeah, just put it on, nice low volume. It does well. It does well, and I do like the album, even though it's a little bit out of my usual wheelhouse. But I do like it, and glad to listen to it, and I'm going to keep listening to it.
Awesome. Carl, what do you think?
Yeah, it's not too far away from Shane, really. I think I've been listening to a lot of heavy stuff lately, and this has been a nice palate cleanser. And it's not really. I've done kind of the same. Like I put it on, it's made me want to think that I want to listen to someone else sometimes, but not in a bad way. Where like you put it on, and be like, do you know, I really want to listen to so and so. So you might stop it, and put something else on. But I've listened to it a fair bit, and it's great in the background. It does give you that kind of. It's like listening to a movie soundtrack album in a lot of ways. We've touched upon Tarantino and like the Bond kind of emphasis a little bit. When those trumpets start, like it does give you that mariachi kind of feel. I love the drums on the record as well. I think the combination of you got some real heavy, regular drumming going on there, and you got like the hand drums coming in and almost Bonham-esque, and they're smacking those up, and it gives it a real tribal feel. But then you get that nice brass section that just carries it a little bit further, and I've really enjoyed it. It's not something I'd normally throw on either, but I want to go back to the back catalogue. It sounds as though from a couple of the community comments maybe that the earlier stuff is pretty strong, and maybe this album isn't as good as the last one, but it would get a 4 out of 5 from me if I was rating it, and it's definitely one I'd like in the collection. I think it's something that's quite different for me in terms of my record collection, so I wouldn't mind having this to throw on and listen to again in the future.
Yeah, the whole discography is really good. There's a little bit of a transformation slowly as they get from 1 to 5. They're getting more into this 60s, 70s psychedelic, kind of more rock, metal almost sound to them now. It's more on the guitar side, whereas the first couple are kind of heavier in the horns. I think it's all cohesive. It's all good together. But
there is a muddy guitar tone to them a little bit on this record, but it's kind of doesn't sound messy. It sounds very rich and very like heavy, like if you're drinking like a real heavy beer, and I like that. I quite like that guitar tone.
They kind of fuzzed out guitar on this record and the one right before it. It's just called Burnt Offering, I think. But definitely go backwards if you like this. There might be more for you in the earlier stuff. Josh, you listened to a few tunes. What do you think of this?
I have to pretty much everything Shane was saying. I'm like, yep. Yep. That's just go back and listen to what he said and then say it in my voice. It's the exact same thing. I was surprised by it. I didn't know what to expect, when I listened to the first track. And like I said, I was like, this straight out of a Tarantino movie. But I was getting into it. It's one of those things where it's the same type of thing. I'd probably have to be in the mood sometimes. I'm more of I guess I'm more into lyrics and things like that. But I have, a handful of instrumental music that I do listen to at certain times, depending on, how I'm feeling or what I want that right at that point. But this, this has a place. I like it a lot. So I'm not sure, how I could expand on what everybody else has said at this point. It's everybody's nailed exactly how I was feeling pretty much.
What should we recommend for the next episode? Any suggestions, gentlemen?
Okay.
Yeah.
We've
been listening to a lot of different stuff recently, and I don't know. My love for punk rock is absolutely endless, and sometimes I might be a little shy to recommend it, but every once in a while you get a really, really great album, regardless of what it is. So I want to recommend the new Bad Religion, The Age of Unreason. It just came out this past week, brand new. They're back, their 17th album, I think. So yeah, I definitely want to throw that out there and get Joel and Carl's take on it.
Okay. I'm a fan of Bad Religion. They killed it at download last year. It was so fucking good. I was not expecting them to just blow the roof off the tent the way that they did. I was like, I've never seen Bad Religion. I know a few tunes. I'll be there, and just within probably about 7 minutes, I was pogoing like an idiot, pushing and shoving, just fantastic. They got so many tunes. I'm going to throw something a little bit different, and this one I had no idea who the band was, and my buddy Chris, he kind of sent me a message and was like, "This album's real good. Do you want to come see him in November?" And I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'll go, whatever." And then I listened to the album a few times, and it's very good as an alternate indie album, and again something a little bit different from my wheelhouse. The album is Doggerel, and the band is Fontaines DC, and it's almost like an indie Irish, very heavily Irish kind of alternative record. Let's say that. But if we don't do it this episode, I think we should think about another episode with it. Just saying.
Great. Special guest, Josh. You wanna decide for us for our next episode what we should be listening to out of these two?
Ooh.
I'd say Bad Religion is sort of a known quantity at this point. They've been around for so long. And I kind of dropped off Bad Religion somewhere in the early 2000s. I would say go with the Fontaines DC. That sounds like something something different, which might make for an interesting discussion.
Oh, there you have it.
Yeah, let's do it. I would suggest, Josh, that you resume if you like Bad Religion. This record's really good.
Is it?
Yeah, good jumping in point. 17th album.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Still on top of their game, and I think Shane said it on Twitter the other day. It might even be they're getting better and better.
Yeah, yeah. There's nobody else like them, and there'll never be another Bad Religion, especially the way they age so well like this. But yeah, definitely, Josh, check it out.
Yeah, I will.
Politically charged. Pretty good lyrics in there.
Excellent.
Carl, you want to throw this one and repeat it again for everybody and then throw it in the Discord?
Sure. Yeah, I'll do that. It's the album's Doggerel, and the band is Fontaines DC.
Awesome. Can't wait to hear it. I went and saw a couple concerts. The one I want to mention, Valerie June played at the Pabst. I'm a giant fan of Valerie June, and she did like an intimate performance where she had no band, just her and a guitar, and she told stories in between the tracks. Very intimate performance. Love Valerie June. I think it's my fourth or fifth time seeing her. So if you haven't heard Valerie June yet, you should run and give that a listen. She's phenomenal. It was great to see her. Another record I'm listening to a lot, Lizzo has a new album out. I think I saw her open for Valerie June at one point, and that's a pretty damn good record, this new Lizzo record. Giving that a lot of spins. And yeah, I've been on a Dokken kick thanks to my wife. She's bringing me back to Dokken. She keeps cranking the albums around the house, and I'm kind of a closet Dokken fan. Like, I'm not really huge into them, but then I hear the tunes and I'm like, yes. Start singing along. That's pretty excellent stuff. That's it for me. How about you guys? You listening to anything, Josh?
I'm really into Pine Grove right now. I don't know if any of you have heard of them.
I've heard of them. I haven't listened to them.
Not listened, but yeah, heard.
Yeah, I heard one of their songs like maybe a year or two ago, whenever it was, on Alt Nation or Sirius XMU, one of those. And my initial thought was, okay, these guys are from like Tennessee or Kentucky or something like that. And I got into the music, really liked it. And then I decided to learn a little bit more about them. I find out they're from Montclair, New Jersey. It's like, what the fuck? How is this possible? But they're like an indie rock band. Started these guys all met, I think, in college or maybe in high school and college, and they only have a couple albums out. They have a new one that just came out within the past couple of months, which is it's really good. But if you're looking for that sort of indie rock band, the lyrics in this one, speaking of lyrics, the writer is very well read. I would say that the singer-songwriter. And I mean, what album have you heard that uses solipsistic in the lyrics and it fits in so perfectly, and it's just so weird that you hear like some of the words he uses, your mind is like, where how did we get here? But if you want to see, if you look up on YouTube, they did a Tiny Desk thing at NPR, which was really good. Those are always really cool performances. But it's really good music. I like it. And I like I like the lyrics. I like the voice of the lead singer and everything, and singer-songwriter. And it's just an all-around good indie rock type band.
I'll check that out. We do a Spotify playlist for every episode. We'll throw that in there along with A Bad Religion, of course, the Budos band, Lizzo, yep, the album that Carl just recommended. Anything else, Shane, Carl, you're listening to, you want to mention before we close out the episode?
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember what the album's called now. New Rodrigo y Gabriela album.
Ooh, I didn't know there was a new one.
Since they've released one. And I'm trying to remember what it was called now. Metavolution. And it's the first side is all kind of stuff you'd expect them to do. So two acoustic guitars, and it's a bit heavy rock, metal, and it's decent. Side B is where the album really shines. It's literally Pink Floyd's Echoes on two acoustic guitars, and it's fantastic. It's really, really good. Came out on Friday last week, along with a couple of other good albums. And it's on I haven't picked the vinyl up yet, but it's got a lovely Galaxy vinyl in the US. I don't think I can get it over here in Europe, but worth looking for if you're a Rodrigo and Gabriela fan over in the States. I think it's pretty cheap. And their version of Echoes, it's a whole of side B. It is really, really good. Other albums are the new Amon and Marth album came out. It's another metal album, and a band called Assonvel, who are like a Motorhead inspired metal band from over here, and they are decent. So a couple of new metal albums to get your teeth into.
Good stuff. Shane?
Just the usual wheelhouse. I know there's a couple albums coming out in the next week that I'm really looking forward to, so not a whole lot until then, and I'm going to be blasting those like crazy. So
did you pre-order that Foxy Shazam record?
Yes. I was able to get a copy. And he also put up there's Ross at Enjoy the Ride Records out in Long Island, I believe he's out of. And yeah, great little independent, does so many great records. And yeah, that Foxy Shazam record is an absolute banger. Love that album. He put up where was I going with this? He put up he had some of the first press that he did, which is a really cool black and white split with like a red splatter in it. Really, really sharp. So I was super stoked to see he put that up. So I was able to grab one of each. So super stoked.
One of each. Hey, is it a repress? Did he release this once before?
Yeah, he did it before last year. I think last summer. Yeah, he did the first press, and then everybody, a lot of people missed out. So he does it every once in a while. Does a repress on a different variant. That's how I got my Transformers soundtrack, which is really cool. Those things sold out in like 2 minutes. That was insane.
See, this is why I need to move to the States, because every time you guys share, or not the only reason, obviously, but every time you boys share this stuff, and I'm like, that Foxy Shazam record, like we drove up to Whistler, we had it on, it was brilliant. I'm like, yeah, such a good record. And I looked on the site, I was like, yeah, $24, I'll do that. Shipping, $27. Yeah.
Yeah.
Scenery.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be worth it. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I appreciate it. To hook up with us, find everything you need in ABOG, go to abandonedgamers.com. If you enjoy the show and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. You can find really easy links to do that over at abandonedgamers.com/listen. Josh, you mentioned you're kind of hanging out on Twitter, but I don't know if you gave your handle. You want to give your handle? And
Josh.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
PJF Josh.
PJF Josh. Anywhere else people can hook up with you? Keep up with you? Or is that the best place?
I mean, that's mainly where I am right now. I'm not really on Facebook. I never really was. Like, if you look at my account, I didn't tell Facebook anything. It knows that I'm a male, and it doesn't even know my correct birth date, of course. But it knows nothing about me, basically. When everybody was in that panic and they're like, oh, I have to download my Facebook profile and see all the stuff they have in there. Mine was all nothing. It was all blank. I thought, well, let me just say it. It was just completely blank. There's nothing in there. So Twitter right now is the best place to find me. If I do anything, when I do anything, I'm going to be announcing it there. So go to @PJFJosh on Twitter and, send me a message or just keep an eye out and I will announce anything right there.
It's a pleasure as always, my friend. Thank you for joining us. I know we've been talking about doing this for a long time. Saddened that we did it at a point where you had to say goodbye to your audience, but hey, it's like, come on, get over here. Let's chat. Let's hang out. So thank you. Yeah. We appreciate you being here, man.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I mean, now I have time, so that made it a lot easier. But yeah, thank you very much for having me on and allowing me to at least have a bit of a goodbye to the community that I didn't get on the other end. So onward and upward.
Yeah, you bet. An open door over here. If you ever want to, I know you can take your time and catch up with the gaming and your family and just inhale, exhale a few times. Like, oh my God, this is different. But if you get the itch and you haven't yet launched your next thing, open door here, man. Just tap us on the shoulder. You're always welcome to come sit in and hang out with us.
Here.
All right.
My pleasure.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
bet. Well,
It's been an honor to sit across, we'll say, and do this. So thank you, Josh.
Sir, this is a well-oiled machine. This is really well run. I'm very impressed.
My fault.
Well-oiled in more than one way.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Magic people, voodoo people.